highway is totally dark in the night. You have to depend on your vehicle lighting solely for the purpose of traveling. And persons are also traversing that road during that period of time, most times without any form of illuminating clothing. The highway itself at some points have holes, bumps, and persons who are not familiar with traveling, especially during the night, often drive in a manner as if they're driving on roads that they're familiar with, and they end up in those accidents. Now, the last two that we would have had are persons that are not familiar with that highway, and the accidents would have occurred not far from each other. And in both instances, the person that would have received injuries and those would have died are persons that reside in those areas and traverse that road on a daily basis. So that they should also not be traversing those roadways, especially with dark colored clothing. And in one of the instances, that was so. In the other instance, it was just mere speeding that caused that accident where three persons would have lost their life, and both persons that we would have deemed responsible for those accidents are currently before the court.
Would you say that maybe we reach a stage where we should consider perhaps secondary roads or crossings for the cyclists?
Corp same, but in the night, it's a difficult task, especially, let's say, after 9 p.m., where visibility is poor, so of course we wouldn't be operating with any devices. So it's on the drivers of themselves to actually be cautious out there. It is difficult to actually man the highway in the night in aspects of speeding.
Difficult to manage.
It is.
So, what would you say to those who get that extra rush to floor the pedal, particularly on the highway?
I would urge road users, especially in the night. The highway has a number of turns, bumps. You get some surprises when you travel on that highway, especially in the night. It's for you to be cautious, take your time. You're in no rush to get anywhere. At the end of the day, you're saving your life, lives of the person in your vehicle, and lives of the person that will be traversing at that time.
Another aspect, quickly before we move from the traffic, it has to do with the issue of colored lights on vehicles. And what we're speaking about when we say colored lights on vehicles, we're talking about the front where the white lights are. Persons are actually decorating with blue lights, with sometimes even red lights, and even neon lights on that. Many citizens have been complaining that it's blinding to oncoming vehicles, and those are things that are potentially could lead to accidents if it has not led to accidents. What is the police force's position on those lights, those colored lights that are being put in place of the white lights or being added to where the white lights are?
Well, as we know, it's illegal, and I can say a moment for my division. My traffic officer has started a rigorous campaign to actually deal with those same lights, similar to Region 6. I see Region 6 would have also started a campaign, and we are doing likewise.
And that campaign entails, what would you say to them? What, if they're stopped, what is going to happen?
Well, it's an offense, so persons are being charged for carrying those lights. If, let's say, the vehicle came with those lights, after a period of time, you're going for fitness, a lot of different requirements for fitness. That is one of the inspection that is done. So once you have that, you will not be given a fitness, and once you're caught on the roadway with those lights, you are arrested and placed before the court.
Have you had, any case of someone got their fitness, go out, put in those lights. They perhaps caught, charged by you, and obviously the fitness is revoked. They go get it fixed, go get back their fitness because they know have been approved, and then go back and put those lights. You then pick them up again with the same thing.
I'm not aware of that.
Not aware of that.
No.
Now let's hope that that doesn't happen either. All right.
It's a possibility, but I'm not aware.
All right, 21 hours 13 here on the Police and You. The commander for Regional Division 4B is on the program, and we are discussing what is happening in that region. You can give us a call on 2264762. Send your WhatsApp questions on 6320147. Follow the conversation on Facebook at the Guyana Police Force. And right there too, you could even send your questions. We get a chance to pick, we'll be able to ask the commander. Commander, lots of citizens are taking to social media and they're complaining about being stopped and searched. And they're saying that the police are harassing them. How do you respond? Or have you had any such complaints in your division?
Well, I have not personally had anyone come to me and complain. Indeed, I've also seen it on social media. For my corridor, and the law is clear, you cannot stop and search a person just cause or justification. And that is implored to my ranks through our traffic officer. So far, I've not received any complaint from anyone of the public, but if that is happening, I urge persons to actually either speak to my traffic officer or they can visit my office at Diamond and lodge such complaint.
A lodge such complaint. All right. Quite an interesting one. And just before you go, how would you say, what would you say to those persons who've got to travel along the East Bank corridor, particularly in the mornings and the afternoons, the evening rush hour, as it relates to going to work and then getting back traversing? One of the big bottlenecks they talk about is getting down from the Providence area. Particularly the major bottleneck is happening at the Demerara Harbor Bridge, and maybe all the way down to just about Houston side. What advice would you give to them?
All right. Traffic management on the East Bank corridor, it's very difficult. Let me be honest. It's a collaboration between Region 4A, 4B, and Region 3. Because of the fact that we have a large influx of vehicles, however, we still maintain the road width that we had over a number of years. I can tell you, Stan, that my ranks, they work very hard. They're on that road 5 a.m. and they do not leave that road in the evening until that traffic is clear. There's only so much they can do. We have implemented a lot of strategies to actually assist persons that are traversing. The most I can beg of persons that are inconvenienced is to have patience. We do know that secondary road has been completed and some minor works are being done currently. And we're hoping that that can assist a bit. It goes up to Eccles, and in the future it will go onto Mandela Avenue. So we are urging persons with patience. There is no compromise by my ranks on that East Bank corridor. They work very hard, I can attest to that.
All right. This is the Police and You. Now let's turn to something else that is a little bit more interesting. What would you say is going on with crime division?
Well, at the moment, crime is on a decrease in my division. I can give you the stats. We are at a negative 10.7%. Our major concern, or the crime of concern at the moment, that is on an increase as compared to all the rest, is rape. We had 3 for last year as compared to 8 for the corresponding period this year. Most of those rapes are on the Lynn Suzac Highway. Some are statutory, and we've been trying our best to actually curb that also by having outreaches, having educational talks with members of those communities that we find have the largest number coming out of.
All right. Now, this obviously means that you're looking towards greater collaboration with communities. As you mentioned, you've held talks and start to try to break the ice with citizens. How is that working out for you?
The response from the community has been great. We have an outreach in some community on East Bank, and so far the response from those persons have been great. Persons have been coming out, hearing their concern. We encourage persons to hear all the concern. I know persons might not be comfortable coming to the station, hearing their concerns, so we actually take policing to the people and have them state what the problems are, and we try our best to address what we can right here, what we can't address right here. We have a feedback system where we get back to them at a later date to ensure there's some form of satisfaction. And I can tell you that it's working, I wouldn't say 100%, but at least based on the response that we've been getting, it is working.
It is working. All right, and you have a lot of what we would say youths who are involved in lots of criminal activities, whether it is from crime of passion, and you did mention with sexual offenses, whether it's from that, whether it's from the common robbery or break and enter, on a lot of violent fights and so on. What is the police in your division doing to curb some of that? I know that responsibility lies with many homes and the Ghana Police Force's responsibility and role. What are you doing in your division to address this youth crime situation?
Well, we have active youth groups at each station level. Station sergeants are responsible for forming and maintaining youth groups. We have youth groups in both of the subdivisions, subdivision 1 and 2. Our activities have been curbed somewhat due to COVID-19, where a lot of parents don't want to send their children out. But we try as much, even during the community engagement, to actually encourage parents to send their children out. And we have activities in a structured manner, keeping the COVID guidelines in place. However, I must say it's limited, because at some point, for example, in Mocha the other day, there was a community engagement, football competition was organized. However, it went a bit out of hand, the police had to intervene. So while we are engaging the youths, at times it is difficult because of this period. And we're hoping that once we can have more open air activities, we will try to move forward to actually encourage youth to come out. We will keep employing on parents to actually assist us in letting their children come out, and we guarantee that we will continue to have them in a setting that is in line with the COVID guidelines.
And as you mentioned the COVID guidelines, I want to go there now, because currently what we have happening is COVID enforcement due to, especially right now, with the rising numbers of COVID cases and even deaths. But it's been more than a year now that the entire world has been in this lockdown mode, and many persons, I don't want to call it frustration or justify it in any way, but many seem to be flouting those, and you've got from the secret parties, secret location parties, you've got lots of gathering that flout the COVID guidelines, and you still are seeking to enforce. Now, are you having repeat offenders during this enforcement, and how are you faring with the enhancement? The enforcement.
All right, let me start with the secret parties. We don't always, or we're not always able to actually discover the locations of all, but we have mechanisms in place to actually locate some. Some persons are quite smart, and those secret locations are only extended to friends and families, and it's difficult to actually find all of them. We have found some, but we are still working to actually garner these secret locations. As relates to enforcement, while we don't have much of a problem in terms of enforcement because of the fact that by 9:30, majority of the business places are closed along this bank corridor. You might have one, two persons that might defy the curfew by playing music from their own vehicle, lying outside of those business establishments after they would have closed. But we have a joint enforcement team between us and the Ghana Defense Force. And that team comes out every night towards that regulation.
The enforcement. When it comes to those who you might find culpable and the charging of them if necessary, I know that in some other regions they've got a special COVID court that is now set up so as to be able to deal with these issues expeditiously and minimize the risk of having to have stations overcrowded with those who are found guilty of a breach. How is that working, and do citizens know, should they be caught breaching the COVID, what are the next steps?
Okay, like the other divisions, we also have COVID court at the Diamond Magistrate Court, 3 days per week, and once persons would have been arrested, if the next court day falls within one of those COVID court days, they're taken from the station that evening. Sorry, they're kept in custody and taken to the court next morning. If the court does not fall on that particular day, then they would be released on bail and they would be required to attend court on the next court day.
Right, so they have a chance, most likely. You're breached. Let's just say you're not an essential worker. You're found on the road after 2 in the morning, which is a breach, and you're arrested. But the next court date is maybe 2 or 3 days away. They'll pay a bail at the station and go on their way until the court date which they must attend.
That's correct.
All right. And what kind of bail they're expected to pay? Just in case they decided, they want to defy that. What kind of, as people say, what kind of X money should they be walking with?
The sum is small. It's between $5,000 to $10,000.
That's good money nowadays. From what we're hearing, sometimes that's what a rich man actually spends.
And then I would advise them not to breach the curfew.
All right. Now let's look at some of the other initiatives that you're doing. Apart from policing, there's a lot of community work and effort that is being done. You did mention a lot of emphasis seems to be going towards the youths, with the youth groups that are there and so on. But on a wider scale, also a lot of initiatives in terms of not just the outreach, but identifying maybe projects that you're working with in collaboration with the community. Any such of those are happening in your region, and would you like to share about it?
Well, I would have mentioned earlier, we have a number of outreach that we roll out, and this outreach would also include youth activities. We also have hamper distribution. As we said that last week, Saturday, we would have identified 150 less fortunate homes in Caneville, and we would have distributed 150 hampers to those persons. It's an ongoing project, and we're looking to roll same out. About a month ago, we would have also visited majority of the communities in Subdivision 1, that is between Eccles to Brickery, and we've actually donated a lot of foodstuff to the less fortunate. So most of our engagements right now are youth activities and donating to the less fortunate.
Youth activities and donating to the less fortunate.
Yes.
And what is the reaction from the people, not just at that initial stage, but going forward, afterwards?
I can say persons are very grateful. We've seen an improvement in police public relations, especially in 4B, and it has also assisted in information sharing. By mere fact of actually engaging with these persons, we've been gathering and garnering more information persons that would have assisted our police posture action.
When you talk about building community relations, do you have situations in your division where an errant policeman or woman, the way they interact with the public, kind of impacts negatively the work that is being done by other ranks and even the officers in your region? And if that has ever happened, how do you deal with those things when you get the complaints?
Definitely. I mean, as I say, one bad apple spoils the whole barrel, so same principle applies. Once, and the thing is, social media is the modern court. Why I say that is where most times we are tried, the police. So once a police commits an infraction, right away the entire police force is tried on social media. And all the hard work that we would have put in to actually improve on police public relations sometimes goes down the drain. Now, what I would appeal to who are dissatisfied with the manner in which a police might have dealt with the situation that they are involved in is actually, there are a lot of mechanisms in place that they can actually follow. In first instance, you can report it to your closest police station. If you're not satisfied with the delivery of service there, you can report it to the subdivisional officer for that particular area. Still not satisfied, my door is always open. You can come straight to the commander's office and air your complaint. You can even go further afield to the force administration. We have the police complaints authority, and we have the Office of Professional Responsibility. So there are a lot of systems in place that actually have members of the public air their concern if they're not satisfied with the service of a member of police force.
There is this seeming, there's this seeming, impatience by many. Man, me never go with this. I gotta go to the police station to make a report and this wait long and they're gonna tie me up and that kind of thing. So it's like when you mentioned there are several options that persons have in terms of getting redress. Many most likely are gonna want to front of that person. Me not gotta waste time. Me never would do. And there's too much of a run around. What would you say to them, Commander?
Okay, now, as I said before, we also engage members of the community. If you're not satisfied with actually, yes, you want to say.
Right.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable coming to a police station to actually make a complaint, if you're not comfortable going to the police complaint authority or the Office of Professional Responsibility, you can always call into the station, or you can call my number directly. My number is at all stations. It's on the notice board. So you can feel free to call me directly if you do not want to come to the station.
All right. But another ticklish thing there is that for most of the times for the Ghana Police Force to be able to act on any complaint, you must be able to have someone who is willing to give a statement and is also willing to go to court to testify in order for the police to be able to go through with that. So if that person says, well, man, yes, something happened, and I think just recently I would have heard a situation where a person called the station to make a complaint about noise nuisance in their neighborhood from a neighbor. And when police told them to come in, they were like, no, they don't really want this kind of police story because the person is influential and then it can cause enmity and it can cause further problems and then with that. And in some instances, your hands are tied. You should take what they say over the phone and act on it. And because you don't, then they get upset and say you're not doing your work. How would you respond to that?
Well, from a legal perspective, if a person makes a report via the telephone, however, we don't have a written report or written statement from that person, we cannot prosecute. Because that person would be required to appear before a magistrate to actually give that evidence in person. We can take the report over the telephone, but that person would still need to give a written statement that has to be used in court. Because at the end of the day, the party that they are complaining against, they still have rights. And appearing before the court, they have to lead a defense. Now, if the accuser is not there, then the matter will be thrown. So that person making a complaint has to appear before the court to actually give that evidence.
All right, thanks, sir, for that piece of information. I certainly hope that those of you who are listening will pay keen attention to that. We're going to open the phone lines, 226-4762, where, of course, you can actually call and share your information, share your questions, concerns with the commander, and have him answer as the program continues. This is Police and You. And we've got a caller online. Caller, good evening to you. Hello? I think we lost that one, but we're gonna wait to see if anyone else is gonna come through. On 226-4762, the commander of Regional Division 4B is on the Police and you are free to call through with your questions or concerns and have the commander answer. Caller, very good evening.
Oh, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah. I want to ask one question.
Go ahead.
Now, the commander was that you could go to them.
That is a civilian body run by a former judge. So if you're not satisfied, you don't trust the police enough to actually make a complaint to the police, you can always go to that civilian body and lodge a complaint. As it relates to the person being shot and kept at the station until the following day, I'm not aware of that. Maybe you can give us some more insight into that.
Well, the call is gone, but maybe if it is that they do get a chance to come back, or we will obviously go to anyone else who comes through on 226-4762 to share their concerns. But I think one of the things I want you to be able to elaborate a little on, Commander, is that belief again by some members of the public, and particularly like the last caller said, that the reality on the ground when they get to the station is that they don't feel that they're going to get that kind of justice or support. So I want you to be able to comment on that. But just before that, we're going to take our next call. Caller, good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
To make this complaint, right?
Go ahead.
There's my neighbor, Yahoo Wash Day, right? And he tells him down the house every night. He just keeps smoking and smoking, tells him down the house. And when you call the station, sometimes they come and sometimes they do not come.
Oh, what area are you talking about there, Connor?
This is from Diamond Scheme.
In Diamond Scheme.
Yeah, Diamond New Scheme.
Diamond New Scheme. All right. You want to tell us maybe the street, Commander? So you can get the street. Tell us your street.
19th Street, 2801.
Commander, what do you say about that?
Ma'am, I look into your complaint. We'll have that work should be checked out, and I promise you will get some relief.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming through. And yes, it's just about 21 hours 39. You still got a chance, and you can call through and ask your questions of Commander. But in the meantime, Commander, like I did say, if you could address that issue where people are feeling that, yes, because many, that seems to be the idea. Yes, you say this, but when they get there, that is not how they're going to be treated. What would you say about that?
As I would have said earlier, and I will say again, if you go to the station, you're not satisfied with the rank of the inquiries, how they treat you, how they speak to you. You have the station sergeant there. If you're not satisfied with the station sergeant or what he or she's telling you, you have an inspector or an officer at that station. If you're still not satisfied with them, you have a subdivisional officer in both subdivisions. Our subdivision officer for subdivision 1 is at Diamond Grove Station. That is ASP Griffith. If you are from subdivision 2, which is practically the Timiri area, you have DSP Taylor, he's a subdivision officer. So if you are not still not satisfied with the subdivisional level, you can come to my office and lodge that complaint. So there's a different level that you could actually exhaust before you actually put your hands up in the air and say that you're not going to get justice.
I like that. Caller, good evening to you.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good night.
I'm on the air now?
Yes, you're with the police and you. Go ahead.
Yes. I have a little query on something. Years ago, we used to a quick reaction number. That's in your Sharon.
Correct, yes.
The police, right? Now, when you call, they will tell you go to the commander at the station. In the name of God, if the thing happening now, at night, the commander will get the station, he or she will not be there. So we want this thing to get back into reaction. Where the information is coming from. And they should come down on scene right away. Why would I be at the back dam or something like that, and I have to come out from the back dam to go to the commander's office? If the police is walking away, you think you call George Strong, to call George Strong, so inform George Strong, so that we can get quick reaction from the police. We telling lies that okay, then we have to go to the commander. Even if we should have to go to the commander when we make a call to the station, and if the station the police doesn't come, we call quick reaction and get quick action from the police. So I think the thing should be done that way now. Where you call quick reaction in Georgetown, they have access to the station and they will find out if somebody called here, or whatever the case may be. If you want the information and the police will do their job, it takes some time for you to go to the city commander, county commander, and so what is better to be done? Call Georgetown quick reaction, let me intervene. A report was made to the station. Did y'all go? Why y'all didn't go?
All right.
That's my concern. It should be done in that way still.
All right. Thanks for coming through.
Okay then. Thanks.
And if I could share a little, sure, Commander, you could elaborate. Whilst we have moved away, and it's now a world where most persons have access to cell phones, and as you would have mentioned, what we know is at the police force, all the commanders' numbers are posted, and it's public knowledge. And it is shared. You could even go on the website of the Guyana Police Force and actually find the numbers of their divisional commanders there, both their landline as well as their cellular numbers. So it's not a matter where you have to actually physically go. In a case like that, you can actually call from where you are. And it's not just calling, and it's restricted to the landline at that police station. You can call the cell numbers of the commanders, the deputy commanders, and lots of those senior officers and ranks Their numbers are public knowledge also. You could get it very easily and make that call. Anything you'd like to add about that in terms of how easy it is to make contact without having to go in person?
The thing is, for 4B, we're now structured this way. If you call the 911 line, you get breakdown. When they inquire which location you're calling from, they automatically connect you to the 911 line to the closest police station in that area. So that police station now will take their report and respond immediately.
All right. Interesting. And there's another development that's been in play for some time, right?
Yeah, it's a recent introduction.
All right. Awesome. So 911, and you'll be put in contact with whichever area your report is emanating from. Caller, very good night to you. Welcome to the Police in You.
Okay. Okay, good night.
Yes, good night.
I'd like to follow up on something the first caller made on where that guy was shot, right? The guy's name is Peter Edney. And this story happened a couple weeks ago, right? Now, there was a lot of things that were saying about that incident. And the police still cannot come up with something. And the police was involved, the 4th policemen, they took the man part out to the car. Next thing you know, the man gets shot. They had $2 million along with a big TV and so in the car. And now you don't hear nothing about it. Right? I want to know what the commander has to say about that. Because I'm saying that I even go far to say.
Oh, let me just come and jump in here 1 second and say that I can tell you that the police would have put out a statement on that, and they would have updated the press that as it is, what has happened, an investigation was ordered, and they are currently awaiting the results from that investigation, which is being handled by the Office of Professional Responsibility. So evidently, during something like that, the standard practice is that once a matter is engaging that kind of investigation, there is no public discourse matter. I'm sure the commander could confirm that with you, but that is the situation, and statements were put out.
Here, before you finish, listen to me. Now, you, Mr. Sandoval, are supposed to be on that committee that's looking over these things.
No, I'm the Public Relations Officer of the Guyana Police Force. I'm not on the committee. That is an independent body that is actually investigating that.
All right. So you assure me that we will get some positive reaction or results from this investigation.
As promised by the last statement put out by the Guyana Police Force, as soon as the Office of Professional Responsibility has concluded its investigation, the findings of that report will be made public.
All right. We holding the commander responsible at this moment, right?
Noted, sir. Thanks for coming through. Commander, you're being held responsible.
As you have rightly said, Stan, the Office of Professional Responsibility, they are currently investigating that matter, and that matter will be sent for advice as soon as it's completed.
Yeah, I do recall just as recent as I think today, someone from the press did ask, and we did reiterate Office of Professional Responsibility. Yeah, and this is just for emphasis for those who, like that caller has been asking, as soon as that is done, because it is out of the hands of the Guyana Police Force at this stage. And once that investigation is done, as you rightly said, it's going to be sent, whatever the findings are, it's going to be sent for advice and be actioned thereafter. We've got a couple of minutes remaining that we can be able to squeeze in a couple more calls if you do come through, 226-4762, right here on the Voice of Guyana's 102.5 FM, here on the Police and You. And do remember, it's Commander Sunarain of Regional Division 4B that is here tonight, and of course taking your questions to those of you who fall within that division. So give us a call and let's hear what you've got and see how the commander can help you. Caller, very good evening to you.
Good evening, son. Good evening, Commander.
Good evening.
We calling from Providence.
We got a problem in front of Red Road every night, sir. From the time the place get dark, you see people coming with coolers and the green can come around the shop. Not it be come around the shop and the music till 12, 1 in the morning. We complain 911, Providence Station House. Them guys coming within 5 minutes the police left, everything started again. Yeah, call the police again.
Right now, they got big party out there.
And you say this is going on every night?
Every night, son. Every God night. Sunday to Sunday. And nobody in got time with curfew or anything out there. If somebody pass there right now,
Big swing out there.
till 12, 1 in the morning.
Commander?
I'll definitely look into that, sir. I guarantee you that.
Okay. Okay, we're going to look forward to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming through to the call.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so you've got some of these, that are sneaking through, but this looks as if they're actually taking up the public space to do their thing, whilst most people should be asleep. If any of them happen to be listening to the radio right now, though we're quite sure that they probably most likely will be listening to music, but if just by chance they happen to be listening to the station and they hear you right now, what will you say to them, Commander?
Those persons, I will say to them that they should pack up whatever activities they're involved in at the moment, depart for their respective homes, and let this be the last night that they're involved in such activities.
I like that. Sounds like there's like when mommy decide, like I talk to you again, All right, so that is quite an interesting day. Now, Commander, let's turn our attention a little bit to how long have you been in command at Regional Division 4B?
I've been in command of that division for under 3 months now.
So you're a newbie to the division.
Yes, I am.
And how are you finding it?
Well, like any other division, it has its positives and negatives. Positives more than negative, and we're trying to eliminate the negative aspects of it as much as possible.
What would you say is the support, not just from the members of the community, but your rank and file who work in the division? You're working with adequate resources that are dedicated to what they're doing?
I would not say I'm working with adequate resources, but whatever resources we have at the moment, we're trying to make it work. There's no such thing as too much resources. To be honest, I would always want more, and I can give you a list of added resources that would actually assist me. But we are managing with what we have at the moment.
And you're getting the support from your ranks?
Definitely.
All right. 21 hours, 53. A very good evening to you, caller. No, I think that call gets lost. You can feel free to give us a call back. Sorry if we talked you out on the ringing of that one. But of course, this is your police and you, and if you're from Regional Division 4B, your commander is here, Mr. Mahendra Sunarain, who is taking your calls and dealing with the issues that you raise. Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening.
Yes. Can you turn on the volume of your radio, please?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I called because of some observation. I see that at the CIE department at police station, where a CIE rank may have an investigation with some alleged criminal, taking a caution statement, and they cause him to sign out the caution one time, which I don't think that you practice. You have 3 courts on that sheet, and all 3 the police disclosed into train. I don't think that is in favor of the accused. You getting me?
Yeah, we're getting you. Commander, you would like to respond to that? Go ahead.
Definitely, that would be incorrect. The caution has to be signed stage by stage, and not all 3 the same thing.
But I was present on more than one time at a station where that practice was actually conducted.
But that would be wrong. The rank that would have done that is incorrect, and that is a breach. And if it falls within my area of responsibility, I don't know if you would mind telling me which station that was, and I can definitely look into it.
It happens in Region 2.
I can pass on that information to Commander Region 2. Any specific station?
On Regina.
I'll pass on that information to Ms. Robertson. Ms. Robinson.
And another thing, what I want to find out now, a case of a rape victim. Can the other medical report, the medical report that they use under the Evidence Act, can be used to tender as an evidence for a rape case?
All right.
Because even in Section 5.3, when you turn it over, this is state cause of the instrument, state nature of the injury received, and instrument used to inflict pain. Now, what will you use? What will you use as the instrument?
All right, sir. That question, I would prefer when Stan has the crime chief on this seat.
No, you
answer that question.
Comrade, you have to pass through that. You don't have to wait until. Don't jump the gun, comrade.
I'm not jumping the gun, sir. All I'm saying is no, I'm not. I'm saying
you are, because if you came through the ranks, you must know about it. You must have knowledge. So why are you waiting until the crime chief comes in? That doesn't sound good. That's not general good policing. You should have knowledge about it if you're a commander. Because I know in cases where files from a station not be sent to this sub-divisional commander or the commander for vetting before it goes over to the crime chief. So I can't see how you were saying wait until the crime chief comes in. I would not.
All right, let me stop you there, sir. What I'm saying is that I would have preferred your questions to be in line with my area of responsibility. If you had listened to the beginning when Stan would have introduced the program, he stated, let the question be specific to the commander's area of responsibility. Now, my area, you're not listening to me. My area of responsibility, you need to listen.
Not only for the deal with the administration.
No, but you do agree that there are several key players within the Guyana Police Force who have various issues as their forte.
But you're not teaching me policing, you know.
I certainly will not venture to do that, but I'm saying to you that if the commander did say that this is outside of his scope, we will have.
Out of his scope.
So we'll be back and forth like this for the next 10 minutes until the program is done, after you would have heard that from the commander?
That is back and forth.
No, because the commander has made us a position clear. You are still insisting on it, and we are not in a court where we are actually doing a trial. I will certainly want to be able to bring that question up to whoever, most likely as advised by the crime chief, whenever we do have him on. All right?
Aye.
Thank you much for coming through.
That's what the guy in the police force is all about.
Thanks for coming through, caller.
Jump in the gun.
Sometimes we do have that, and should we have more time, we'd certainly like to have the appropriate people actually on and have that debate. And trust me, some of that will be coming where you'll be able to have that kind of a conversation back and forth. But Commander, I'm going to take our final call before we put a wrap on things tonight. Caller, good night to you. Welcome to the Police and You.
Good night, Mr. Stangovaya. How are you?
Good night. Fine, thank you. Commander's here.
And Commander, yeah. I hope that you take this job and this responsibility that you're going to come in and look at the situation. Don't take sides in it. Good. Now, there is a lot of things that's happening in this region. Region 4, whereas involving officials from the City Council,
Say you need 2 hours.
GWI, EPL, all these people. What I'm saying, I mean, especially your area of responsibility or what? But what I'm asking you just to show some conscience, because people are being advantaged in this city, and when you go to satisfaction to the police, they're just being towards the people who perpetuating that. You understand? It's not like people tell you when you go to the police to be involved in it. Because I'm saying this, for crime to succeed, it's got to have police involvement in it. Or else it can't succeed. Right?
All right, I hear you. We're almost out of time, so...
I just want to say good night. There's a lot of wine to drink, so good night. Thank you.
No problem. You stay safe, my brother. All right, Commander, your final thoughts. I know it was an interesting night for you, but your final thoughts before we run out of here.
Thanks again, Sam, for having me here. I wish the time would have extended. An hour is not enough to actually ventilate all we've been doing in Region 4B. But with the limited time that we would have had, I would implore on members of the public, more so those along these bank corridor, to adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines. Please wear a mask, please observe the curfew, and do have a great night.
Thank you very much, Commander Mahendra Sunarayan, for spending some time on the Police and You tonight, answering some questions, and certainly hope as you get answers to some of the follow-ups that you've committed to, you pass to us, we'll be able to let the public know what action was taken on some of the complaints that you raised tonight. And again, I want to wish you and your ranks within your division the best success, and to all the citizens there too, the best in terms of relationships. So once again, thanks for coming through, and good night.
Thank you.
All right, and to those of you who have joined us on radio and on our Facebook page, we want to say thank you very much for coming through with your contributions. Thanks for listening, thanks for tuning in, and certainly hope you're going to have a fantastic night. Keep the conversation going on our Facebook page, and continue to reach out. On behalf of the Corporate Communications Unit, all of the hardworking people there, and producer Simeon Brown, I am Stan Gavaya saying thanks for joining us. Do have a good night.